And I think we are live. We are nearly there. And I think we are live. We are nearly there. See, we can hear me. We can hear me talking. Yeehaw. All righty. So, welcome to Walking in the Shadows with me. My name's Lisa. Hello, everyone. And you are on Cryptid Women's Society, Walking in the Shadows. Let me just get rid of some of these screens here. We have got a wonderful, amazing guest joining us today, the beautiful Betsey Kulakowski. How
Nailed
are you,
it.
Betsey? I nailed it,
I'm
eh?
good.
I
You did.
know. I'm
I'm
quite
good.
proud of
Thank you for
myself.
having me. Yeah, you
Oh,
should
you are
be.
so welcome. We've been trying to make this happen for some time now, and I am pretty damn stoked that we've managed to get it cracking.
There you
So
go.
let's I don't actually know if this is working right now. Just give me 2 seconds to try and organize my life. Oh my God, it is working. So proud of me. Okay, I'm technically challenged, as you all know, and the fact that I'm making this happen is amazing. So let's all say hi to Betsey. Betsey, you have a long last name. I also
Mhm.
have a long last name. My last name is Gimbitsky.
Okay. So we're in
So
the same boat. Yeah.
are you the Polish version of the ski?
I married the Polish version of the ski.
Oh,
Maybe.
oh my God, I hope so. Do you know, I've been trying to marry out of Gimbitsky for
Uh-huh.
years and it's never happened. So, there's still hope. My partner's last name is Tungaloa, which is even worse, I think.
Yeah, stick with what you got.
Yeah. Much better last name. Yeah, I totally get it. I totally get it. Hey, let me do you a quick little introduction and then we're going to get into this chat because we've had a bit of a chat in the pre-show and oh my gosh, we've discovered that we're both pirates in a former life. We drank a lot of rum, which is,
Hmm.
most of you that know me know that. And I can't wait to have a good old conversation with Betsey. So tonight on Walking in the Shadows, we're joined with the amazing Betsey Kulakowski. She is a best-selling author, paranormal investigator, and former federally trained safety professional. With over 30 years of experience, she's worked through some of history's greatest disasters, like 9/11, Hurricane Katrina, to name a few, before turning her focus to writing award-winning thrillers like The Jaguar Queen, which I love, and exploring the paranormal firsthand. Betsey's story is one of survival, curiosity, and uncovering mysteries that blur the lines between reality and the unknown. What an introduction.
Ooh, yes, impressive. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Oh my God, man, that
Made
was
me sound
mysterious.
good.
Yeah, that was mysterious.
Ooh.
Um, Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for making the time with us. I know that Juliet was desperate to get on this interview today. Unfortunately, she's been pulled into work, so she's not able to be here. Maybe she's watching. If you're watching, girl, we miss you, and I totally wish you were here because you are the author, and wouldn't that be lovely, two authors? Instead, I'm
Hmm.
waiting for Betsey to create the movie version so I can watch it.
I from your mouth to Steven Spielberg's ears.
That's it. I'll get Taika Waititi on board. He'll do it for us.
There
Don't
you
worry.
go. There you
I
go.
know
That'd be
directors. I
awesome.
know them. I know these people.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about today because I feel like we've been stalking each other for a while and chatting and stuff. So
Mhm.
finally, we make it happen. So if you are watching right now, we've got a couple of people on live at the moment. Drop some comments, some questions for Betsey. If you've got any kind of burning questions about her books or what it's like to be an author or where she's come from or her paranormal investigations and her experiences, drop them in the comments. Also, if you can please subscribe, that would be wonderful. Subscribe, hit the notification button, that little bell sign at the bottom there. The more subscriptions and the subscribers that we get on YouTube, the better the channel goes and the more we get to do this. So please subscribe. And the last little plug I'm going to give you real quick is we have a website called cryptidwomensociety.com. pop on over to the website, go on over there, join the newsletter. We have so many cool things going on over there. The newsletter will give you all of the updates, members spotlights, discounts, competitions, all of the cool stuff. Go and explore what we're up to over there, and you can get your own Truth Seeker membership right now to get into the members portal in the background. And I was just telling Betsey that we have a dungeon, an R18 dungeon, and you need to get your butt in there. Fun. Oh God, I tell you, my life. I love this actually. This is one of the most favorite things I get to do in my world. And I've run many, many businesses throughout my life. And quite honestly, this is the funnest thing I've ever got to do. And I guess it's kind of like you, Betsey, you know, like maybe you had the kind of idea that you were going to be an author throughout your life, but your universe always pushes you into a different direction. Oh, yeah. So how did you come back into authorship? Can you tell us a little bit about, I don't know, did you get kicked in the face a couple of times by the universe? Go back onto that direction?
Yeah, the universe has always kind of had a plan for me. I knew at 6 I wanted to be an author. Oh, my grandfather was an amazing storyteller. He told the most amazing yarns. And so I think I wrote my first book actually when I was 6, but it was just cardboard cover, string binding, crayon illustrations, something I gave to the family for Christmas. So I graduated high school and kind of really didn't have a path for college, but I started going to community college, and I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I just happened to get lucky and land with a job at our state labor department doing licenses for asbestos abatement workers.
Sure.
That was a 6-week temporary job that I ended up lasting 27 years. I stayed with the state labor department that long, but I worked my way up through the echelon to asbestos inspector, and then into safety consultant, and finally into assistant director of the public employees occupational safety and health, doing enforcement to make sure that the public workers were protected on the job. Awesome. And I loved every minute of those years, that especially in consultation, that was really where I found my true calling. It's also when I started kind of moving a little more into the foray of emergency management. I had worked at the Murrah bombing in Oklahoma City, the Oklahoma City building bombing, doing asbestos inspections in that area. And when the World Trade Center happened, I knew, because I had experience, that if they needed help, I might be among the teams that got sent to the World Trade Center. And sure enough, that happened in September, and in March, I was at the World Trade Center for 16 days, working 12 to 15-hour shifts, doing worker safety to make sure that nobody else was taken in that disaster. We did a lot of trench inspections. We worked with operators on cranes, did a couple of near-miss investigations, and just generally were there to monitor worker safety conditions, to do the best we could to make sure that nobody lost their life in the recovery effort. After that, I had a professor who was a fellow writer, as a friend of mine, and he was starting a new degree program at the local college. And he said, Betsey, I think you need to come take my emergency management program. I'd taken a bunch of his other classes. And so I said, okay, I'm interested. He says, well, here's the best part. He said, there's a 50-50 performance grant from FEMA. And if you have good grades, then they'll pay for half your college.
Sweet.
Well, wow, don't threaten me with a good time. Exactly. So yeah. I actually was the first to graduate from that degree program with a 4.2 grade point average. And
is that good?
Oh, it's very good.
Yeah, oh, good.
Yeah. All straight A's. My professor would send back my assignments with notes like, I'm just going to let you teach the class. So I got my degree in 2018. I was on a 30-year plan. It took me that long to finish a degree, but I did it 2 weeks before my son graduated high school, which was a goal. So I had my degree in emergency management. I had also retired from the Department of Labor about that time and went to work for a small nonprofit doing occupational safety training, and did that for a number of years until about a year ago. We had a family emergency in another state. And so we packed up, sold our house in Oklahoma, got our kids all settled and moved out. And we moved to Arkansas. And this is where I am now writing full time and doing a little bit of technical editing, and I teach writers conferences. I go to paranormal events. Anything I can do to help other authors is a part of my mission, and I have a whole mission statement, and
That's
I have kind of
awesome.
a plan for some coaching at some point. That's still kind of on the horizon, but we're taking it one step at a time so that we can do the best we can for everybody else.
Well, that sounds amazing because look, we know a lot of authors. I mean, I've been in the acting industry for a long time, so is Juliet, and now she's gone over to the writing industry. And she's always saying to me, there's so many amazing people in this industry that never get to a point of being published. They've got these
Yeah.
amazing ideas, they're actually really good writers, and they get to the point where they've maybe created like three-quarters of a book, or maybe they've done the
Mhm.
entire manuscript, but they can never quite get that next step. And I know that that's really
Yeah.
scary because, being on screen for me is relatively easy, but
Hmm.
it's taken years worth of learning and doing and critiquing and building that confidence. Do you have any advice that you would give to anyone that's sitting here right now that's gone, oh, cool, Betsey is an author, I'll just watch this. Have you got any advice for people that might be in that sort of situation?
Absolutely. My advice to you is don't quit. You cannot fail if you refuse to quit. And it's funny you should talk about the publishing journey. For me was a very long and winding road. I had been writing since I was 6 years old. In high school, I was writing Star Trek fan fiction, a little
Yeah.
bit of romance here, and I was writing all these things, and I hadn't written the book yet that I wanted to read, and I was looking for something that I couldn't find because I grew up watching In Search of and Ripley's Believe It or Not and all these
Yeah.
paranormal shows. And in around 2005 or so, like the Sci-Fi Channel took off, Discovery Channel took off, and I'm watching all these TV shows. And one night in 2005, 2006, somewhere around there, at like 2 in the morning, I'm watching Destination Truth with Josh Gates.
Sure.
And, we're 4 or 5 seasons into this. And I'm like, they never find anything. Why don't they find something? But then it hit me. What if they did? And it's a truth they can never tell.
Thank you. This is what I think. I'm like, they've found Bigfoot.
Exactly.
They've obviously found Bigfoot, but they
Yes,
can't tell
exactly.
it.
So that's where my book series started. This is 2004, 2005, somewhere around there. So I thought, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write this book that I want to read for practice. Nobody's ever going to see it.
Mm,
It can be as outlandish as it has to be, and it's okay because nobody will ever read it. And that was my goal.
yeah.
So I started writing it, and I found a local critique group with about 5 other people who wrote similar things that I wrote. And I had about half the book done. And so I went to this meeting and I sit down with these 5 people I've never met before. And they're like, so what do you write? And I'm like, well, I don't really even know what to call it yet. It's kind of paranormal. It's kind of science fiction. It's just weird. And they're like, okay, read it. And I'm like, what, wait, you want me to read first?
You want me to cold read
No,
it?
you people, nobody's going to read this. This is the book nobody's ever supposed to see. But I balled up my courage and I read them a chapter, and they're like, oh, this is really good. You need to maybe add some tension here, make this argument a little bit stronger. They started giving me some really good, usable ideas. And so that group became very pivotal to my success. I
Yeah.
finished the book and I thought, okay, well, that was good. I go write something else. But the story kept pulling me back in. My main character was a strong female lead. That was the one thing that was really important to me was, all the TV shows had men. And
Thank you.
that just didn't seem fair to me. I wanted
Yes.
a woman. Let's get a
Yes.
girl out there who could bite the head off of a fish, pick up frogs and bugs, and go look for Bigfoot.
Yes.
So my main character, Dr. Lauren Grayson, is biological anthropologist. She's studied in the wilderness. She studied wolves. She studied apes. She's out there doing research. And oh, by the way, she has a cable TV show that's, it's really her goal to get them to pay for her research. And if she has to make a TV show to get the money, it's better
Sure.
than prostrating herself in front of, a grants committee or something like
Yeah,
that.
100%.
Right. So I thought, this is really good, but I feel like there's more to her story. So
Mm.
I thought, okay, well, I'm just gonna write another one. And it was about the time of the whole Mayan apocalypse, 2012. So I
Oh,
thought,
the end
okay,
of the world.
yeah,
Ah,
let's do an episode on that because you know what happens when the Mayan calendar runs out, they just go get another calendar. And so, that was kind of the premise for The Jaguar Queen, which is the second
yes.
book. And I thought, okay, well, that went really well. I'm going to write another one. I had 4 of them done by 2019. And
Wow.
I had started going to a real writers conference in Oklahoma City called WriterCon in
Yeah.
2016. So this is 10 years after I started working with Lauren. And I started learning the lessons and learning the industry, learning how to become a better writer. What would I need for the legal sufficiency, for budgeting, for marketing? And then in 2019, I was sitting in one of the sessions, and I don't even remember doing this. I went back and looked at my notes later because I'm a copious note taker. And I had written in my notes, uh-huh, within the next year, I'm going to do one thing that's going to get me invited to come back and speak at this conference because I spoke at safety conferences all the time. It was just a
Awesome.
natural progression for me.
Sure.
And I didn't tell anybody. And at that conference, they announced that in 2020, they were going to do the WriterCon cruise,
Oh,
which is a
cool. Like
week
on a
long,
boat?
yeah, on a boat, a week long intensive, small group workshop on a boat in the ocean, going to
Wow.
Mexico, Honduras, places I'd never
Oh,
been,
wow.
never even dreamed of being able to go to. I just didn't think that that would ever happen for me.
That's the coolest thing ever.
Uh-huh.
God.
It was pretty amazing. So they said you have to send in a manuscript, then we'll have a coach assigned to you. They'll read it, give you critiques. They'll help you with whatever you need. We're gonna do a marketing plan. You're gonna pitch it to a publisher for
Wow.
practice,
Yeah.
and all these things. And then you'll get all these other authors there to support you, and your coaches will support you, and everybody that's with the organization are there to help you succeed. So I came home and I told my husband, I said, look, if I'm serious
Mm.
about making this writing a career, I think this is where I need to be. He's like, why aren't we signed up yet?
Wow. Did you go back
Yeah.
and forward in your own head about this?
Yeah.
Because it's a big step, right? You're about
Yeah.
to fork out thousands of dollars, I imagine,
Yep.
to go and
Hmm.
do something like this. Was there a little bit of kind of, you had that inner conflict?
A little bit, but I just knew that this was the place I needed to be. Sometimes the universe just says go, and
Yeah.
you either don't, you do or you don't. And if you don't, you miss out.
Missed
So
opportunity.
I went for it. And so in February of 2020, we set sail out of Galveston and we went to Honduras. And, all the days
Wow.
that we were at sea, we did our workshops, we took classes, we pitched the book. My coach is also a paranormal thriller author. She gave me great advice. When I thought, is this too much? She'd be like, oh, heavens, no, this is great. This is gold. Keep going.
We need another
And
apparition. Put one over
yeah,
here.
yeah, and I have such imposter syndrome. I
Oh,
actually teach
thank you.
classes on it now
Yeah.
because I have such imposter syndrome. I thought the only way for me to overcome it is to educate myself and then help others because I know other people suffer with it. So one of the things we did on the cruise was we went to Chichen Itza, which
Oh,
is the ancient Mayan
wow.
ruins, which is where the Jaguar Queen is set.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking through Chichen Itza with the gentleman who would become my publisher, and I'm telling him all the things about the pyramid and the temple of the rain god and chalk and Belam the jaguar, and I'm telling him about there's pyramids inside and there's a cenote below. And finally the tour guide looked at me and goes, "Do you want to do this? Because you know as much as I do." I'm like, "No, no, I'm here to learn." He goes, you're good."
You're bang on.
So
Wow,
so
that's great to know that your
yes.
research is actually correct, right? From
Exactly,
cool.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because I've only seen what I've seen on TV and on the internet.
Wow.
There
Cool.
were a few things that I discovered that I hadn't thought of for the book, and that's things like the fact that there would be just tables lined up on the walkway down to the ruins with Jaguar t-shirts and tchotchkes of all kinds and obsidian blades and
Yeah.
all the things that are being sold by the locals. That's their revenue source. I didn't think about that. So that was something I had to go back in when at some point when I get to Jaguar Queen, I'll go back and revisit that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then the grass being walked completely down to nubbin. The grass is brown if there's grass
yeah,
at all,
yeah,
just from the number of people coming into the site. And I think, okay, I can fix that.
yeah.
So we get back to the ship, we get back to Houston, back to Oklahoma City, and then the pandemic hit. And
Oh,
we discovered that the day our ship landed in Galveston, the cruise ships in New Jersey were being quarantined. So
yeah.
we had just missed out on all of that. And I thought, well, that's it. this is, it was nice. We had a good time. It was totally worth it. I'd do it
Mm,
again in a heartbeat, but that was it. And I thought,
mm.
that's the end of it. I won't hear anything else. Lo and behold, the gentleman I had walked through Chichen Itza with emailed me a few days, I guess maybe a week or two later, saying, I'm starting a new publishing imprint. I was thinking I wanted pixies and fairies,
Mm.
but I've discovered that your Bigfoot story is really what I want. And I would love if you would consider publishing with me. I'd like to have the whole series, however many books that
Wow.
becomes. That never happens. I didn't need an agent. I
No,
got a really fair contract because he was a first time publisher. I was taking a chance on him. He was taking a chance on me.
for
So
sure.
we made a great partnership, a great deal. I had my attorney go through the contract. She was pleased with it. And we signed on, and in September of 2020, the Veritas Codex series began with the first book, the Veritas Codex. And we launched that at WriterCon in 2020, a year after I'd made that goal. And I did speak at that conference, and I've spoken at it every year
Well
since.
done, you manifested that, right?
I did. And I truly
Wow.
believe that if you want something, you have to
Yeah.
manifest it.
Yeah, 100%. So, can I take you back a couple of
Okay.
steps? God, I love this
Sure.
story. I love it when things fall into place and all of a
Hmm.
sudden things just start doing it because you're aligned, right? Everything is in
Right.
alignment, your energy is in alignment, your focus is in alignment. You're doing what you're made to do, why
Right.
you were put on this earth, right? So number one, imposter syndrome. Can you tell us what
Hmm.
imposter syndrome is for anyone
Right.
that's not kind of clued
Right.
up on that?
Yeah. If you don't know what imposter syndrome is, it's the belief that whatever you're doing, you're a fraud and people are going to find out sooner or later.
Yeah.
You may be perfectly competent, but you have that little voice in the back of your head, that self-doubt that says you're not worthy. You're
Yeah.
not good enough, you're not smart enough, and you've only gotten where you are because, lucky. You got lucky. And
Yeah.
so imposter syndrome it's one of those things that it happens to a lot of your top performing people. Albert Einstein suffered from imposter syndrome. Um, it's more common in women. I have met a few men, they're like, what's imposter syndrome? I don't have that. I've never had that. But every woman I look at goes, that's me.
Yeah.
That's me. So we are not alone. And that's one of the things I talk about when I teach, safety conferences or our women in safety group. We did a thing on imposter syndrome, and it's like you're not alone, and it is all in your head. And there are some steps that you can take to overcome it. You may not fully get rid of it, but you just have to have faith in yourself and believe that you can achieve anything you work for. So you just got to get out there and hustle for it.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up because that is something that I've dealt with on occasion. Juliet's
Hmm.
dealt with on more than one occasion,
Hmm.
100%. And especially stepping into this sort of industry, we've never been in this space. We've always
Yeah.
had encounters, like we've always
Mhm.
had, apparitions and all sorts of other bits and pieces, but we've never really kind of put our feet into this space. And so when we first started Cryptid Women's Society, we were both sitting here going, oh my God, we've
What do
got
we do?
no idea what we're doing.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know about anything. But it was really lovely because as we started building this community of amazing women, and man, we've met some amazing guys, amazing girls in the supernatural industry as a whole,
Hmm.
cryptozoology fields. Um, they are just super supportive. Everyone is just like, you know what? There's no experts. How can
Yeah.
you be an expert if you don't have a Bigfoot body to a specimen
Right.
to
Right.
look through and look at and dissect and everything else that you need to do with that and do scientific experiments on? Well, we can't, so we'll just be researchers. We'll just
Exactly.
get out there and do that.
Hmm.
And not try and be experts in our field, because how can you in a field where most of what you talk about can be debunked
Yeah.
like,
Or
by
has yet to be proven. Yeah.
but has yet to be proven. Absolutely. If you have a skeptic saying, oh, you saw a ghost, did you? Yeah, I did. And I've got a photo. Oh, well, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And I know that you've had a photo published.
Hmm.
I'd love to go into that in the near future, and we'll talk about that shortly. But
Sure.
um, I love that you've brought up imposter syndrome. A lot of our women that are members at Crypto Women's Society deal with this sort of stuff. And I know that, you've been in really male dominated industries. I mean, the
Hmm.
safety industry as a whole is
Yes.
hugely male dominated. So
Yeah.
can you tell us kind of how you dealt with that? Have you had any
Right.
encounters where you've just kind of gone, I'm out. I don't want to be
Yeah.
in this space anymore. But I mean, you obviously lasted in it for,
Hmm.
almost 30 years or
Yep.
thereabouts. So
I had a lot of encounters that made me doubt myself because,
Yep.
here I am, blonde-headed, green-eyed, especially when I was really young, because I was 18 when I started the labor
Oh,
department. I was
yeah, sure.
20 when I made inspector. So here I am telling these contractors who have been doing it for 50 years that, it's not safe and somebody's going to get hurt. And they're like, we've been doing this for 50 years. We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Nobody's got hurt yet. And I'm like, the key word there is yet.
Yeah.
And I've never really let it stop me. And somebody had asked me that previously, how did you make it in the world in a
Mm,
male-dominated field? And like I didn't let it be a problem. I had every right to be there. I had all the expertise and
mhm,
experience I needed. If I didn't, and if I made a mistake, I'm human. And
yeah.
I just did my best to educate myself every opportunity I had, take advantage of any training that was offered to me. And I've done the same with writing. I've done the same with paranormal investigations, because uh, I think if we stay stagnant, we'll never get anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I've always tried to take a lesson from everywhere I go. And when I would work with businesses, I would be invited out to do safety consultations with them. I was there as their guest because they knew that they needed change and they needed somebody to facilitate that. And so I would make a deal with these companies. I said, look, here's the deal. I don't know anything about building buildings. I don't know anything about making widgets or plastic bears that your honey goes in. But what I do know is safety. You
Mm,
teach me the process, and I'll show you where your hazards are,
mm, mm,
and
mm.
we'll work together to find solutions. If we
Wow.
can do that, then we'll have a good partnership. And that worked tremendously well. I had one construction company, it was the first one I ever went out to, and they were very small. They didn't have a lot of employees. They were doing small projects. And by the time I retired, they had grown to a multi-billion-dollar company
Wow.
with big projects. They're working under city contracts, federal contracts, building these huge giant buildings. And we grew together. They helped me to learn everything I needed to know about construction. When I needed to know something about cranes, I would call them and say, "Hey, can I come out and talk to your crane operator? I have a
Mm,
question
mm, mm.
about cranes." Absolutely, come on out. And I would go out and I would meet with their crane operators, and they would teach me what I needed to know. Some of the crane companies would come and do training courses for us when I was doing the training job. And it was those partnerships and working together and collaborating that really became the foundation for my success. And
Mm.
so I carried that over into the writing world. If I didn't know something about anything, I would find somebody who did, and I would say, "Hey, can I pick your brain? Can we collaborate on something? Is there something I can help you with?" And I always tried to make it a two-way street.
I love that philosophy because yeah, absolutely. We're surrounded by amazing people and we should be able to approach those people and say,
Mhm.
I need help or I need
Yeah,
to pick your
yeah,
brain or let's
yeah,
collaborate.
yeah.
And I love that. And that's our philosophy as well. And that's why I was like, Betsey's coming on the show. I was so fun. Because I just knew you were a wealth of knowledge and I was like, this is just going to be the best conversation ever.
Yeah,
I love it. So
absolutely.
I want to take you back to Chichen Itza because
Okay.
number one on my bucket list, 100%.
Hmm.
Number two, you have done paranormal investigations, you've had your own
Hmm.
encounters, all of the above. When you were there, did anything
Hmm.
weird happen?
Uh, we were there for such a short period of time. It was the middle of the day and it was packed. And I cannot say that I had any kind of a specific moment.
Mm,
Um, I was just trying to be very observant, about all the details. I was really kind of focused on fact checking my own research,
yes.
um, looking for those little details I could weave into my stories. Um, I think one of the coolest things that I did not know about is that if you stand at a certain place at the temple of Kukulkan, which is the big Mayan temple that everybody knows from
Mm.
pictures and TV and stuff, and you clap, you get a whole group of people to do that, you can hear what sounds like a bird echoing in the top
Wow.
of the El Castillo. And that was probably one of the coolest things I have ever seen. I had no idea that that was even a thing. I hadn't read about that. I hadn't seen it anywhere, but our tour guide took us through that and I actually got video of it. And it's just really cool to hear that wow, 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 coming
Wow.
back in through that void at the top of the temple.
That's amazing because I've heard
Hmm.
this not from there. This is the first time I've
Hmm.
heard that.
Hmm.
But I've heard this sort of kind of vocalization
Hmm.
through so many different like kind of megalithic sites from
Hmm.
ancient civilizations that they've created this amazing kind of acoustic
Yes.
in the tombs or in the catacombs or
Hmm.
within the temples and that sort of stuff. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. It's pretty
That is
neat.
very cool.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
take nothing else, it's like that's the coolest story
Yes.
from my two
Yeah.
hours there.
Yeah. One of the things I
Wow.
wanted to do while I was down there was I wanted to swim in a cenote. That's always something that's been very fascinating to me. I didn't get to do it on that trip, but I did get to go back in 2024 on the same riding cruise as an instructor, and we got to go swim in a cenote in
Oh, cool.
Cozumel. So
Oh
I
my
have gotten to
God.
swim in it. I mean, two bucket lists have been ticked
Yeah.
off
Well, you
through
have to
that.
come to New Zealand because we
Yeah.
have thermal hot pools over here and
Hmm.
they're amazing. And you just, pay $5 or whatever and you spend all day floating around in these giant thermal
Nice.
hot pools and they're beautiful. They're amazing.
Count me in.
And like we
Count
talked
me in.
about before, you can walk around in New Zealand with no shoes on.
Yeah,
Nothing's
because you
gonna,
don't have snakes.
yeah, nothing's gonna
Yeah,
bite you. Nothing's
that's
gonna try
good.
and eat you. The worst thing we have, people.
Hmm. People are a problem.
An issue. Um, we have wild boars, so giant piggy pig.
We have Arkansas Razorbacks, and I had never seen one until recently. Unfortunately, the semi truck did not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that semi truck got jacked
Oh
up.
my gosh, that's
Yes.
massive. Yeah.
The pig
Um,
didn't fare very well either.
I bet. And the only other
Yeah.
thing that we have is stags, like deer.
Yeah, we've got those too.
But that's it.
Walk
And
through
they're
the
not,
backyard every night.
oh yeah.
Yeah, pretty
We don't
cool.
have any next to us. We have a huge mountain range next to us. So I
Hmm.
live kind of country rural, about an hour and a
Hmm.
half out of a big city. And so we have a huge mountain range called the Tararuas, which are
Hmm.
a really spiritual place. And there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings, a lot of UFOs up there and that sort of stuff. And we're about 10 minutes away.
Count me in.
Oh yeah, we're going on a little expedition in November if you want to come over.
Oh my gosh, if I could, I would be there.
Up the way. But no, yeah, really exciting. And Juliet and I actually had our own encounter up there with some sort of a Bigfoot entity. We heard howls and bits and pieces like that, which is crazy because we don't have big
Very cool.
cats. We don't have
Hmm.
wolves. We don't have, that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty crazy. Okay. So you're also a genealogist and
Hmm.
perks my little nerdy brain up because I'm like, oh, I need one of those. So
Well, with
tell
our last names being so close, there
I
may be some
know.
potential there.
We're obviously cousins.
Right.
So tell me about how you got into genealogy and does that help with your books? I mean, I
Oh
imagine
my
that
gosh.
massively with your research and kind of
Yes.
characterization and stuff.
Yes, it does. Two of my favorite places to spend time are the library and the cemetery. And I do both for paranormal investigation. I do both for genealogy. So they're very complementary skill sets.
Yeah.
My mother was very interested in genealogy and had kind of done some research. We found cousins and in-laws who had done research. And I found an ancestor who had written a book on our family tree, and I found my name in it. And I thought that was really
Oh,
cool. So
crazy.
that kind of piqued my interest. And when I was in college and I was taking history courses, I discovered that if I could tie that period of history to my family tree, then it meant something because one of my ancestors was there. And
Mm.
so, one of the first areas where I got really interested in was the American Civil War. We had family that was involved on both sides of the conflict, some in Ohio, some in Mississippi. And so that was really interesting.
Mm.
And then I got back a little farther to the American Revolution and discovered that we had rebels on our side and
Rebel,
they
rebel.
helped. They actually served with George Washington as far back as in the French and Indian War before the Revolution. So that was a big part of our history here in America.
Yeah.
And from there, I discovered that they were actually convicted Jacobites from Scotland, and they had been sent to America as indentured servants instead of being hung by the neck until dead, dead, dead. And so we were rebels in America. We were rebels in Scotland. Then I discovered Robert the Bruce. And,
Oh, really?
every Scot wants to get back to Robert the Bruce, but I did it. I got to Robert the Bruce. And from Robert the
Wow.
Bruce, you can get to Charlemagne. And from
Yeah.
Charlemagne, they say you can get to Jesus. Well, I got to Noah. and the year 200. And it said Noah, fictitious person? Question mark. And I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I've gotten as far as I need to
Ah,
go. The year 200. Now, is it all accurate? I'm still working to document and verify a lot of things, but just to be able to say that I've gotten to the year 200 is mind-boggling to me, to
that's
know that our family, our blood has come from France, from Switzerland, from everywhere in Europe that you could possibly imagine.
amazing.
And then my husband's family being Polish, he's a second generation American.
Mm.
And his family, all the records are in Polish, and I don't speak it. So I haven't been able to do a lot of research on him. But what his family that I've got records on, I'm pretty confident with that. I actually discovered that his family and my family crossed paths pre-Revolutionary War.
Oh, really?
Yes, so I come from the Armstrong line. He comes from the McCord line. Fort McCord was attacked by Native Americans, and some of the McCord girls were kidnapped, and the Armstrong boys were sent to find the McCord girls. And one of the brothers was killed in the rescue attempt. The girls were rescued and brought back to Fort McCord, and one of his family members named their son after one of my family members. So that name is a name that doesn't pop up very often except in the family tree. The first name was Pleasant. So there's a Pleasant McCord and there's a Pleasant Armstrong, and that name carries all the way into the 1800s.
Crazy.
Yeah, on my family side. So,
Ha!
it was destined. It was kismet.
Oh, 100%. That's
Hmm.
amazing. Wow,
Hmm.
that is real
Yeah,
what do
full
you call
circle
it?
moment.
Yeah, 100% entwinement, right? Like,
Yep.
that's crazy. Oh my gosh. So I haven't gone back that far. My family are from, so it turns out, I don't know if I should say this on live TV, but okay. Uh, my poor family. So my dad's side is Polish. That's where my
Uh-huh.
last name Gimbitsky comes from. Very, very similar last names.
Hmm.
And we are third generation New Zealand now, or second generation, must be third generation New Zealand now. But we used to be von Gimbitsky with an I and a Z.
Hmm.
And so during World War One or two, whichever one it was,
Hmm.
they all came, or one of the brothers came over here, defunct, and jumped off the boat and swum over to New Zealand and decided to change his name from von Gimbitsky to just Gimbitsky so that he wouldn't
Yeah.
be villainized,
Yes.
for being a Nazi
Happened a
or
lot.
whatever else. And so a couple of the brothers went up to the Americas. So there's a
Hmm.
couple of Gimbitskis up in America, and there's a couple over in England, and we don't know much more
Yeah.
back a couple of generations back because it was just all destroyed through Belarus and that sort of stuff.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm impressed that you have been able to search through your husband's genealogy, which is amazing. But then my
Yeah.
mum's side is South African, but what we thought was English South
Hmm.
African. So they are Jewish, very
Hmm.
Jewish. Go to the synagogue, and their children have
Right.
all gone on missions and all that sort of stuff. And my other side of the family is Christian. And so we have
Hmm.
this big giant divide in the
Yeah.
middle, and it's ridiculous. I just think
Yeah.
it's silly because we're just praying to the same God at the end of the day anyway.
Yeah.
But it's fine. When we do ancestry.com, we find out that my mum's side of the family are actually from Ireland and Scotland. And so then I laugh and I go,
Ah,
Druids, aren't you? Go back to your
exactly.
pagan ways.
Yeah. It's funny you should say that you've got family from South Africa, because I have family in South Africa.
Oh, sure.
Actually found a book in my boss's office on astronomy. And I'm thumbing through it because I'm interested in that. And I'm looking through it, and there is a picture of an astronomer from Bloemfontein, South Africa, whose name is Arthur D. Code, and that was my maiden name.
Okay.
And I haven't quite figured out how we're related, but that name is so rare that
Yes.
I know at some point we've got to be related in some way.
Yeah.
But I ended up actually used kind of a version of that person as a character in the Alien Accord. Because if we're going to study aliens, we need an astronomer. And if, we might as well go to South Africa because that's a great place to go look for things in the
Yeah.
sky. And so why not Bloemfontein? So I ended up using that in a book. So, I mean, and I found that 25 years ago. in a
Wow.
book. And it was one of those things that just stayed in my head the whole time.
Sure, yeah.
And so, yes, my genealogy definitely has found its way into my books.
Mm.
Uh, my character, Rowan, who is the male main character who
Yeah.
supports Lauren, and a little bit of a love interest there. Uh, his family tree is my family tree.
Oh,
And
okay.
then Jean Rene, who's the director of photography, he's French Canadian, but he's actually French. And his family tree is a little bit of my family tree on the
Mm.
other side. And so I kind of weave in history and lore and Templars and Visigoths and all the ancient things that
Wow.
I love from my family tree into my stories, and definitely use my skill set as a genealogist, as an investigator, to ensure that my characters are true to life.
That is so interesting. God, that's so, it just really brings um reality into it and
Yeah.
credibility and all of these other, like this real reality into it. Brings this real
Hmm.
sense of
Yeah.
kind of these people were in history or were here
Yeah.
or could have been
Yeah.
here. That's so beautiful. And it really brings your family energy back into
Hmm.
it, right?
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
really special. I wonder if that's attributed to your success as well. I wonder if
I
that
sure like to hope so.
all those
I believe
ancestors
that,
like,
yeah, I believe that character, everybody wants to know is, do you write plot or do you write character? Do you write world building? I do it all because your characters are the product of the world that they live in. So your world building has to be really strong. But it
yeah.
means nothing if you put them in a world that doesn't really apply to them. So with Lauren being an investigator, she might need more evidence than somebody else, and she might not believe something that's right in front of her.
Yeah.
But then again, once she has the data, she knows in her heart of hearts that this is the truth.
That's it.
And her motto is absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. You try saying that one after a trip to the tequila factory. And I did. Part of the cruise, we went on a tour on the tequila factory, and then I had a class that evening, and I had to
Oh,
talk about my character's motivations, and I had to say that, and it did not go well.
you're like too many tequilas. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, yeah. And I've never been one to drink, shots. And at the tequila factory, that's what you get.
Oh, obviously, that was really poor timing on your behalf.
12. 12. They were tasty.
Oh my God. So you were tanked when you did that course.
A little bit.
Tell the truth.
And a little bit. The boat wasn't the only one unsteady.
Oh God, that's fantastic. I
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
personal training client once show up and she met her at the reception. I was like, hi there, come on through. And she was like, where should I put my Woodstock and cola? So that's bourbon and cola, right? And I was like,
Hmm. Not in
probably not
here.
in here. She was like, oh, just stash it. I was like, why are you drinking? It's 10 a.m. in the morning. It was like a very, very odd
Yeah,
situation to be
yeah,
in.
yeah,
But no, I have been in the same situation numerous times where I may or may not have drunken a little bit too much, and then I had something really, really important to do, like
yeah,
standing up on stage and not missing my cue. But whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whatever.
Cues are highly overrated.
Oh, 100%. So, okay, let's get into the good stuff.
Okay,
Okay, so good stuff for me. It's not about you today, it's about me.
okay. Let's get the
The
good
good
stuff.
stuff for me is, have you ever had a Bigfoot encounter? Your first book is about Bigfoot, right? So
Right,
have you
right.
ever had a Bigfoot encounter? What does this look like? Where did the
Hmm.
juice come from?
Right. Okay, so I've had three near misses.
Ooh.
Yeah. And
I
I
love that
spend
you put
a
that into safety talk.
Yes, this is safety talk. Um, I spend a lot of time in the woods. We hike, we camp. I grew up as an avid outdoors person. My grandfather loved to take us camping, and I was anywhere my grandpa wanted to go, I was on board. So I grew up, we actually lived in the Pacific Northwest for a very small period of time when I was very little. I mean, under 3 years old. And I
Yeah.
remember hearing about Bigfoot. That was my first monster.
Okay.
Like in Monsters Inc. It's like, that's my monster. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bigfoot was my monster. So I always loved Bigfoot. And after I wrote the Veritas Codex, because why wouldn't I start with my monster?
Mm.
Um, I really got into let's be intentional about looking, because I'd always been out there and kind of, oh, Bigfoot's out here somewhere. But I really wanted to be intentional about looking, studying, learning. And
Mm.
so the first encounter I had was at Mount St. Helens, which is where the Veritas Codex is set. And I was kind of walking around looking to see how did I do in the book, because this was 4 years after the book was published. I hadn't been back since I was teeny tiny, and I wanted to know how I did. And I think the only thing I probably could have done differently is I didn't account for the fact that there was actually a road that runs through the whole park. I made them hike everywhere. Okay, so my
Yeah.
world doesn't have a road. But I'm hiking this trail, and this is on the north side, which is where the pyroclastic flow and the ash clouds did the most damage. And
Yes.
this area is in recovery. The little baby pine trees are probably, taller than me now, but they're so thick. I mean, they're packed in there densely that unless you're on a trail, you're not getting through. So we're walking on this trail, and my husband and I are, looking at everything, studying the terrain, and we've got our little trail map where we're going to hike, and he's looking at the birds and the sky and the vistas, and I'm looking at the ground because this is volcanic soil. It's very sandy, it's very loamy, and it's perfect for casting prints. I mean, your shoe marks were so detailed and clear. You could tell when you had a rock in your shoe just by looking at the print.
Mm-mm.
And so I was studying the ground, and I'm looking in the trees, I'm looking for any evidence. And we didn't find anything. But the next day in the newspaper, there was a report of a set of tracks being found on the trail we had hiked the day we hiked it. So we missed it by that much.
Ooh.
So that was near miss number one.
Or was he following you?
Maybe, maybe, entirely possible.
Yes.
So near miss number two was in Oklahoma, which is where we lived for many, many years. And I had a friend in the little town of Honeby. It looks like Honobia on the map, but it's pronounced Honeby.
Wonderful.
And he was an author, and I had met him online. I'd never met him in person, and he was doing a book signing. His books were very much like mine. So I wanted to go down, support him, go to his book signing, meet him, and maybe see what he's finding down there because he lives in the squatchiest place in Oklahoma.
Sure.
So went down there. They had his book signing at the Bigfoot Museum in Tallahena, Oklahoma. And they have a Bigfoot festival down there every year in October. They do a number of events in the area because it really does have a lot of activity. And so he told me, he said, there, if you drive down the highway over here, he said, my house is like a mile off the highway, but there's a sign there that says home of the Bigfoot Highway. He said, you should go down, take some pictures. You can use them for your social media. Just go check it out. He said, and just take a look around. So we did, and we got out of the car, and it's this two-lane rural highway. There is no traffic. It's the middle of a Saturday. It's a beautiful fall day. And so we get out of the car. I go over to the sign. My husband took a couple of snaps for me, and as I'm standing there, just this horrific, god-awful smell hit me in the face. Imagine kitty litter, rotting meat, a paper mill, a foundry, and a rendering plant all mixed together. That's the nastiest thing I can think of. It was awful. So my
Ooh.
husband's like, yeah, let's get out of here. We got our pictures. We're done. Let's go home. So we got back in the car, and on our way back, I messaged my friend and I said, do you guys have a paper mill anywhere around there? I knew they didn't because I knew where the paper mill was and it was an hour away. He goes, no. I'm like, foundry? Huh? Rendering plant? Nope. He's like, Betsey, what'd you smell? And so I told him, just like I told you, what I smelled. And he goes, that was the booger.
Oh my
I'm
God.
like, the booger? He goes, yeah, Bigfoot. That's what they smell like. He said, once you smell it, you'll never miss it again. He said, you smelled it. He said, and we smell it all the time down there.
Wow.
So that was near miss number two.
Far out. What an
Yeah,
encounter. Oh.
yeah. So then the third near miss happened in Blue Ridge, Georgia, just about 2 years ago. And some of my fellow authors and I, my fellow co-host with my podcast, the Unfreaking Believable podcast, decided that we wanted to do a writer's retreat, a girls' weekend.
Cool.
And so we found an Airbnb. And it was just north of this little town called Ellijay, Georgia, which is a delightful town. Anybody gets anywhere near Ellijay, Georgia, you need to go in and get a biscuit, best biscuit I've ever had in my life at this little cafe.
Wait, what's a
But
biscuit? Is a biscuit like a
it's
cookie?
not a cookie. It's not a cookie. It's like it's savory. It's
Oh,
made with the same process as a scone, but a little more fluffy,
oh,
not as
okay.
crispy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We put gravy all over ours. It's a southern thing.
God.
But theirs was absolutely amazing. Just the best one I'd ever had. I'll send you a recipe.
Yeah.
Because
I just think I need to come over and
yeah.
you can take me
Well,
there.
I can make you one. Yeah, yeah. That's something to know about Lauren, my main character. She is the queen of campfire cuisine, and
Oh,
she can
yeah.
make you a cat head biscuit like you would not believe. So
That sounds
anyway,
delicious.
it is. It's good. Trust me. So anyway, Ellijay, Georgia is the home of Expedition Bigfoot, which is a museum.
Yeah.
And we knew we were going to stop there. So one of my partners called ahead and said, is there somebody that we could meet with that could kind of give us the lowdown? We've just started this podcast. We'd like to have somebody we can talk to about, what's being found up there. He
Mm.
goes, there's a lady who works here. Her name is Amanda the Bigfoot Lady. We'll hook you up.
That's a real name.
Yes. So we got there, we went and met with Amanda the Bigfoot Lady. She gave us the whole tour of the museum, and they had recordings. They had headphones you could put on, and you could hear recordings of the howls that they had reported to
Wow.
them.
Yeah.
So, it was kind of a blood curdling, almost like a woman screaming, but more primal.
Mm-mm.
So, we did all that. Amanda was also really good to help us find a couple of cemeteries to go investigate in. Again, being a genealogist and a paranormal investigator, I want to go check out the cemeteries.
Yeah.
And actually met us out there with her mom, because her mom knew the whole history of the county and all the graveyards and
Oh,
all the people that were
cool.
buried there. This is this family and this is that family, and here's what's up with this weird grave over here. And, she knew it
Yeah.
all.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, we get to our cabin, we settle in. A couple days later, we decide, two of us decide we're going to go for a morning hike. And there had been a storm blow through the night before. So they had trees that were blown down over the hiking trail. And we got to one of the areas where the trail was kind of blocked. We're going to have to climb over this big giant tree. And there was a guy with a chainsaw that he'd gotten bound up into the wood. It was stuck. And he'd just come back with his second chainsaw to try to free the first one. And so he was helping us get over this log fall. And he was asking us, well, how far are you going to go? Have you done much hiking? Do you spend a lot of time? You could tell he's testing us
Sure.
to see if we belong there. Because I'm sure we look like a couple of Karens in the woods, which we actually wrote a book about.
I know. I can't wait to talk about that.
Yes. And so, I explained to him that, spend a lot of time hiking, camping, all this kind of stuff. I didn't say anything about paranormal investigation because you never know how people are going to take that.
Sure. Yeah.
And, yeah. And so he said, okay, well, he said, if you get to the waterfall, that's probably a good place to turn around and start back. He says, I'll kind of keep an eye out for you guys. He says, there's nobody else on the trail today. You should be fine. He said, but just be aware that, there's stuff out there. Didn't say what kind of stuff. And I didn't ask because
Okay.
I'm looking for stuff. And if there's
Yeah,
stuff
you're
out
like,
there, I'm not sure I want to find it, but I'm looking.
my
Yeah,
ears
exactly.
perking up. Stuff.
Yeah. So we get, 20, 30 minutes down the trail, and he finally got that chainsaw to fire up. And when you could hear it across the whole valley. And like seconds later, there's this blood curdling woman screaming, very primal scream, just echo across the valley. And I mean, it made the leaves on the trees quiver.
Wow.
And my girlfriend and I just kind of stopped and looked at each other and we're like, it's the booger.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah. There was no doubt. So we've heard it.
Yeah. That's
So
mental.
smelled it, heard
Yeah.
it, and missed it by that much.
You got to go back.
I do. Absolutely do.
Go back. Oh my gosh, take me with you.
Come on, let's go.
We'll organize it. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Wow, that's insane. So on the same side, you have
Mhm.
Bigfoot, Sasquatch in America, and it's very
Right.
kind of well known and promoted and
Mhm.
advertised and that sort of stuff. And we always
Right.
talk about the American market as being like really well educated around cryptids,
Mhm.
around the paranormal. New Zealand and Australia, we're not very well educated unless you talk to people like, the indigenous folk and the First
Right.
Nations people, very well educated around it because
Mhm.
they just live and breathe it. It's just part of their
Right.
lore, right? Their stories. Um, and so you talk about, I went to a business meeting once, a woman's business meeting, and they're like, "Oh, so what do you do?" And I was like, search for Bigfoot." The girls were like, "Oh,
Oh, that's lovely.
wow, how many
How
drugs are you
nice.
on for that? How many bottles
Yeah.
of wine have you taken?" Like, "Oh, great." And then one woman was sitting there going, "Finally, it got good." Okay, yeah, great.
Love
But
it.
to your point of like kind of what it sounded like when we went up to the Tararua Ranges and we had our encounter where we heard howls coming from the other side of the river, up into the pine barrens up there. We don't have bears, we don't have wolves, we don't have apex predators. So anything that's howling is either a person or something else. And
An
in New
unknown
Zealand, we
object.
have, yeah, absolutely. In New Zealand, we have a hairy man called the Moiho. And there's
Mhm.
lots of different names, Indigenous names, that kind of
Yeah.
mean the same sort of thing.
Right.
But essentially, he is a smaller version of Bigfoot. He's not that 10-foot tall kind
Right.
of guy, but he is very fast, very strong, hair covered, and
Mhm.
quite ape looking or quite primate looking. And so the howl that we heard was incredibly not so much the woman screaming, but that real guttural kind of growling to the point where we were like, is this a Bigfoot or is this a dog man sort of
Mhm.
entity? And there's been lots of encounters with dog man through New Zealand and Australia. But the weirdest part of it is it was like, when you stand like on a bridge or something, you drop a massive rock into the water and it goes, and then it kind
Boop.
of
Yep.
sucks the sound down into it.
Mhm.
That's what happened, except this howl or these vocalizations were coming from the pine trees that were way up the hill, very far away from us, towards us, and we could feel the vibrations, which is what you're talking about with the leaves
Mhm.
kind of undulating. And
Yep.
then all of a sudden the sound got sucked back into it. It was the strangest, oddest thing that it was like this huge giant kind of energy coming towards you and vibrational energy coming towards you, and then it just literally got sucked back into a void. It was
Mhm.
so odd. I was like,
That's
wow.
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, phenomenal way. And so yeah, I feel like, when once you've heard something like that, or you've smelt something, or you've
Mhm.
realized that there was something kind of close to you, you realize
Mhm.
that you're part of a very special group of people that haven't
Yeah.
had experiences. For a long time, I thought
Mhm.
everyone had ghost experiences or paranormal experiences,
Mhm.
that sort of stuff. But it turns out that not a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that similar to you? Do you have other paranormal experiences, or have you had? I know that your
Mhm.
mum was it was she into the paranormal or did have
Yeah.
experiences
Yeah.
as
My
well?
mom was very interested in it. Um, she was the one that kind of got me into ghost hunting.
Oh,
We would
okay.
go out and do, of course, we're also into genealogy and history. So we would go out in Oklahoma. There's a place called Fort Reno. It's an old Indian fort there
Mm,
before statehood. And it's where a lot of the tribes were, they were located when they were relocated to central western Oklahoma. And so Fort Reno was also a POW camp after World War II.
okay.
And it is still a USDA research site for the Department of Agriculture. So it's still an active facility. They still use a lot of the buildings, and some of the buildings are just too old and too dilapidated to do much with. But we started going out to that location because they had a monthly ghost investigation with a local paranormal group.
Yeah.
And then they had an annual event called Tombstone Tales uh, around the Halloween period. And they would have people dress up and reenact the life or retell the life story of the person who was buried in the cemetery.
Oh, wow, that's pretty
So
cool.
they would
Wow.
literally stand by the tombstone and tell their story.
Wow, that's
You know,
eerie.
it was very
Oh,
eerie.
that's eerie.
One of our legislators was telling the story of the person he was portraying who had come to Oklahoma, brought his family with him, and then his wife and children died. and how miserable and lonely he was without them and how he didn't make it
Mm.
much longer after that. And he was such a wonderful actor that I
Mm.
am literally standing there ugly crying. I
Ooh.
mean, ugly. I was horrible. I felt so bad for him. He finally got where he just couldn't look at me because I was such a hot mess and he was so good at it. And so those kinds of events we would go out to, and it got to the point where my mom was doing research for them on some of the ghost stories that they were having. There
Okay.
was supposedly a ghost in one of their main buildings who had committed suicide, and the bullet hole is still literally right there in the wall. You can
Wow.
still see the bullet hole in the wall. So they had never been able to prove that that person was real. Well, we were able to find the records. We found
Wow.
uh, newspaper articles about the suicide,
Mm.
all the records about who he was, where he came from, what
Yeah.
was going on in his life. And so we were able to contribute to the history of that facility.
Yeah.
But we got to the point where we would just kind of go out because we'd done the ghost hunt so many times
Oh, yeah.
that my mom kind of set it up. So we were like the de facto safety team. We were there to make sure people stayed with the group and that nobody tripped in the dark and, nobody wandered into a place they weren't supposed to be because I'm a safety professional. What else am I going to do?
Don't fall down that hole.
Exactly. So we had gone out one night. It was in October and it was still like 98 degrees when we got out there. It was hot. And it's on this beautiful prairie. There's nothing for miles. You can see the sun going down. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Well, like any scientist, I'm going to go through and do a baseline survey before it gets dark. So I walked around the buildings that we were going to be stopping at to investigate, and I'm taking pictures in all the windows and just walking to see what the hazards were so I know where, because I'm a safety professional out of self-defense, I don't want to fall down and hurt
Mm,
something.
mm, mm.
And I've done that plenty of times. So I did that before it got dark. And then as we're going through on the investigation, there's a building called the Old Victorian. And it was one of the officers' homes that he built for his wife because his wife's father did not want her living in a teepee on the prairie. So he sent all the lumber for this house and said, build my daughter a proper home.
Yeah.
So he built this beautiful Victorian mansion for her on base. And nowadays they won't let you go in, but I have been in that building before it had been condemned. And so we're just walking around the outside of it and we come around the corner and I stop to take a couple of pictures and I have a digital video camera and it'll do rapid snaps. And so I've got this digital camera. I'm taking rapid snaps, no flash, no night vision, just a standard camera. And I click, 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 and I'm looking at the image on the screen and I'm like, And I look up at the window. It doesn't look like the image on the screen. What it looks like on the screen is a face, and you can very clearly see the eye sockets, the outline of the beard, the nostrils, and a hand. Like he's going,
Oh.
what are you kids doing out on my yard?
Oh my God. Ooh, I just got chills to my arms.
5 pictures in rapid succession of this image. It is not there when
Wow.
you look at it with your bare eyes.
So is this the image that you had
Yes.
put in? Yeah, okay, so I heard that story.
Yes.
Tell us that story really quickly.
That's the story.
Or
That is it.
Finish it
Okay,
off.
so
It went to Discovery or something.
yeah, so I sat on that for a long time and I actually don't even know where that camera with those original pictures are anymore. But I had a couple of the snaps I had kept on a computer and gotten on Facebook and stuff like that. And one afternoon they had a thing on the Travel Channel where one of the Ghost Adventures, I guess it was Ghost Adventures, was going to do a fan pick episode. And they invited people to send in their pictures. So I sent that picture in and said, hey, if you want to use it, let me know. And within a couple of weeks, I got an email back from the Travel Channel with a contract, saying that, that we have the rights to use this picture online, copyright, all this, it's covered all of that. Of course, I signed it immediately because,
Oh, yeah.
please, who wouldn't want to have their picture on TV?
That's
And
cool.
I don't know that I've ever seen that episode, so I don't know if they used it, but
Oh, I gotta go
I got it
find
out
that.
there.
Have
I
you got
never
the
saw it.
photo?
I still have the photo, yeah.
Can you send me
It's
a
on my
copy?
Instagram.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'll
it's on my
find it.
Instagram.
Do you
It's
mind if
like
I post it on
it's
ours?
yeah, no, go ahead. You can share it.
I
I'll send it to you. Yeah,
love it. Anything
yeah.
like that is amazing, especially from someone like yourself who comes from a scientific kind of very, systematic structure of how you go ahead and collect evidence or collect information. And that's really, really, really cool because it means that, you know, there's not so much bullshit around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And again, I try to approach it from the science. You know, I'm trained to collect evidence. I've done fatality investigations. I have done asbestos inspections. You know, I'm
Yeah,
trained to do a deep dive into the who, what, when, where, why, and how of how something happened. And unfortunately, too often it was how a worker died.
of
And
course.
so, you know, I've also been able to take that same skill set that I learned from my job and apply it to, you know, whether it's Bigfoot, whether it's ghosts, whether it's, you know, whatever. I'm going to collect it from that scientific method standpoint and make sure my evidence collection is sound, make sure I've got my chain of evidence. You know, if I have analysis done, I keep 2 samples, keep one
Yeah.
for myself, send one to the lab. Um, haven't got to that point yet, but if I do get some good evidence like that, I know how to handle it. So
Yeah, and I
I
think
try to
that's
make
really
sure,
important though.
yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there that will collect, you know, DNA samples, i.e. hair or fur samples or
Hmm.
whatever, and then send it all away and get rid of all of
Hmm.
it. And all of a sudden it's gone. It disappears.
Disappeared. Yeah.
Like bones. And I
Yes.
think you're bang on with that. You should always be very, very careful
Yes.
and mindful of the
Yeah.
people that you are
Yeah.
trusting that stuff with.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
100%, yeah,
Absolutely.
hold on to a little bit yourself.
Exactly. Because you never know what could get lost in the mail.
Yeah, absolutely. Lost in the mail. Oh, sorry,
Lost in
we're
the
saying
mail.
anyone that's just listening to us, we're putting quotation finger marks
Yeah.
at the
Air
moment.
quotes.
Lost in the mail in the
Yeah.
quotation marks.
Yeah.
Hey, we've got the lovely Jennifer has joined us. She says such a great book series. Yes, bang on.
Thank you,
We
Jen.
also have the indescribable Octoman. Hello, everyone. Hi, what's going on? Um, so Betsy, I want to know about Karen in the Woods.
Okay. So,
Obviously, I want to know about Karen in the Woods.
yeah.
Tell
So
us
Karen's in
how
the Woods.
what's going on.
Yeah. There's a whole story behind it and a whole story to it. So Karen's in the Woods began as what was intended to be a short story in an anthology. I've done an anthology with Anatolian Press for the last couple of years. I don't write horror, but
Mm,
Anatolian Press wanted to do a horror anthology to raise money to fight human trafficking, which is
okay.
something near and dear to my heart as a safety professional, because a lot of times it's forced labor. It's not what most people think of. So I was like, I'm 100% on board. I'll figure out how to write horror. So I had done that for a couple of years, and he assures me I do indeed know how to write horror. But when it came time to do Autumn Tales 3, there were a lot of new authors that had signed on, and it was one of those. It's like, you know, it'd be really nice if I could collaborate with somebody so that we can kind of maybe strengthen my horror writing. But it was also a really great partnership with the author J.B. Kane, who is one of my co-hosts at the Unfreaking
Ah,
Believable
I
podcast.
was wondering how you met JB and
Yes.
Jenny and kind
Yeah.
of how that
That,
comes together. Oh,
there's a whole story there too.
go,
But
go.
let's focus on Karen's.
Okay.
So we had gone on that girls' retreat. We had had that experience while we were hiking, and we were doing kind of a debrief after we'd gotten home, and we were talking about, you know, Autumn Tales. And she said, you know, it'd be really funny to write a horror romedy. And I'm like, what is that? She's like, it's horror, it's comedy. I'm like, I don't write either one. She goes, yes, you do. Trust me, you do. This is fine. We'll do this together. And she said, we need to do a story about 2 women who have no business being in the woods. They're total Karens. They don't belong in the wilderness. They have no skill set. They're not prepared. It's a worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And oh, run into Bigfoot. I'm like, okay, I'm in. I'm in.
Oh my
So
God.
Karen's in the Woods was a very tongue-in-cheek. It wasn't meant to be disrespectful to anybody, but it was just what happens when 2 Karens, you know, typical Karens, air quotes again, um, get somewhere they don't belong. You know, you can't just ask for the manager in the middle of the wilderness.
I am going to be writing an email.
Yes, exactly. This is going to get a horrible review on TripAdvisor. So we wrote it, and it went into the anthology. We've gotten nothing but great feedback on it. And Anatolian Press, unfortunately, has shuttered its doors.
Oh,
And we get, you know, we have the rights to republish anything. So we took Karen's in the Woods and published it as a novella. JB has her own publishing company, Busy Quill Press. So we published it through Busy Quill. And I submitted it to the National Excellence in Storytelling competition in Oklahoma. and it won first for horror. So it is an award-winning novella, and it is a genuine fun time, a romp through the woods, and oh, Bigfoot happens to be there.
That is hilarious. I don't write horror, but let's do a silly comedy. Okay, it's going to
Oh
be
yeah.
amazing. And now it's won
Mhm.
an award.
Exactly. Exactly.
Isn't that just the best when you're having fun? You know, when you're
Oh
having
yeah.
fun, everything just falls into place and it's
Yes.
just perfect.
It's one of those things that when you're writing it and you just know it works. And from that, JB and I are now doing a new series. The Manifest Destiny series just came out, the first book in
Yes.
July, 7/7/25.
Congratulations.
That is the Veil of Secrets. And book number 2 will be out on November 11th, and that is The Night Doctor's Blade.
Ooh.
And we are now currently writing book 3.
Oh my God. You are literally what I said to you before. You're a writing machine.
Exactly. I type 145 words a minute.
Jesus, woman.
Yeah, and I'm not accurate. I need a good editor. Thank goodness I have some great editors. But I have to keep up with these stories because they just flow out of me and they flow out of my experiences and the world I live in. And yeah, I don't know what else to do but just write.
That's amazing. Do you have a 3 a.m. kind of moment where you wake up and you're like, I just gotta.
Yeah, occasionally that'll happen. The bad thing is I did so many years writing in the background when I worked a day job that I would come home in the evening, get the kids squared away, get their dinner, do whatever, marching band or soccer practice or whatever they needed to take. I take my iPad and write anywhere, but then I would write in the evening. So I tend to be more creative about this time of night when things start to quiet down, the world goes dark, and I could very easily sit and write till midnight, 1 a.m.
Oh,
But
yeah.
on the converse side of that is I am a morning bird. I want to be up. I want to have my coffee on the patio watching the sunrise, listening to the birds.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm a 3 p.m. napper
I bet
now
you
that
are.
I don't have to work. And I'm struggling to get a schedule because if I get in a writing jag, I will write and write and write and write and write until I looked up one morning and it was 5 in the morning.
Oops.
But it was gold and I wasn't about to leave it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I stayed up long enough to have the sunrise with the birds and the coffee and then promptly went to bed.
I bet it's one of those things about being creative, right? Like,
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm a creative person, but I'm certainly not a writer. But I'll have you know, I did publish a couple of books when I was about 5.
Yay, good for
Called
you.
Egmont the elephant, because in New
Nice.
Zealand, the mountain called Mount Egmont, named after the wonderful colonialists that came over to New Zealand. But he was an elephant and he had some amazing adventures. And I too drew all the pictures and bound it with
Nice.
my mum's wool that she was knitting a jersey with.
Yes,
But
very good.
that's the last of my writing, and Juliet's taken over the writing part of life for me. But I'm totally the same. I will wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning, or I will stay up until 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. writing business ideas and coming up with course creation ideas and all sorts of other bits and pieces like that, or movie ideas.
Yeah,
And also, can we make Karen's in the Wood into a movie?
I would love
I
it.
just think that would be so friggin' hilarious.
Yes, yes.
I love that.
JB has some experience with screenplay writing, and
Yeah.
that is not an idea we have not already
Tell
thrown
her to
around.
smash it,
So,
Encrypted Women's Society will produce it. We've got producers, we've got production teams all
Jen,
over.
did you hear that?
There
Jen,
you
did
go,
you hear
girl.
that?
There you go. It will have a
Yeah.
Kiwi flow to it though. Like you can't get away from that. So
We have other friends that are Kiwis, and I would like that very much. So yeah.
you think our sense of humor is somewhat normal? Oh God, you poor woman.
No. Hi, Helen.
Insane. Hello to all the Kiwis out there. We love you people.
Exactly.
Hey, really quickly, Betsy, let's just read some of these comments. The indescribable Octoman said, it's been Smithsonianed. Talking about
Smithsonian. Yeah.
losing things.
Yes.
Smithsonian. He also says, when things of importance disappear while being studied by the powers that be, Smithsonian, I call it. Yeah. And look,
Yes.
you know, we've told lots of stories about things going missing, especially in New Zealand as well. You know, my father was part of the Department of Conservation for 40 plus years.
Mhm.
We used to live on dock reservation land, and he very often, in fact, found things that he shouldn't have found, essentially. Things like bones and other things that shouldn't have been there, and they were swiftly whipped away by the universities and governments that be, and put somewhere that hasn't been found yet.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact that you have been to, some amazing places that have just like this amazing, Chichen Itza and, Honduras and around those sort of places. And even if it was for a short time, you still get to experience that culture and
Yeah.
the indigenous vibe and that sort of stuff. And that's something that we as Cryptid Women's Society really connect into really hard. We promote Aboriginal culture and the Dreamtime stories and the creation stories. We're really big on understanding the indigenous side of the culture that we're working with, and the folklore and the stories that we're telling and that sort of stuff. Is that something that you kind of really connect with as well, or make sure that you do your research really deeply into that?
Yeah. In Oklahoma, it's Native American. It's, the five civilized tribes, the Trail of Tears. I have some familial connections to the Cherokee tribe, though my specific bloodline does not coincide with Cherokee. Half the family was and half the family wasn't, and we don't know if that was because there was a different mother, a different father. Um, Somebody lied to get off of the Dawes rolls because they didn't want to be considered colored. That kind of thing happened, post Trail of Tears. But I can remember my great grandmother speaking in Cherokee. And so when I was in college, the University of Oklahoma came out with a program where you could take Native American languages. So I signed up for the Cherokee language course. And we had an elder in the tribe who was a native speaker. He was every bit of 90 years old, Professor Pumpkin. And he would come in, his granddaughter would drive him in from Tahlequah, which is a couple of hours outside of Norman, where the class was held. He would come in every week and he would teach us Cherokee, and it was more conversational, not we had a professor there to talk about the core linguistics of, where the language came from and the etymology of all of it. And so I learned some very basic Cherokee, and I remember maybe five things now.
Sure,
But
yeah.
my main character, Dr. Grayson, is Cherokee. And I
Oh,
wanted to be very respectful because
yeah,
I didn't want anybody saying anything about cultural appropriation. I
sure,
just wanted to tell the story of a real modern Cherokee woman who was strong, who was fierce, who was brilliant, because there are so many of them that are underrepresented.
yeah.
And so Lauren, she does speak Cherokee. She has a knack for languages. Um, she loves to cuss in Cherokee, which they don't really cuss the way we do. They have their own version of it. But
Yeah.
when she's frustrated, because I'm not much of a cusser in text anyway, I might say a few words out loud. But when I'm writing, I try to keep it pretty clean because you never know who your audience is. So
Of course.
occasionally when Lauren is really mad, she will curse in Bulgarian because it's very effective for cursing. Um, and I'm very lucky that I have friends around the world who will help me with languages. Book 4, The Monk's Grimoire, is set partially in Slovenia.
Oh,
And I
wow.
set it there because I have a friend who lives in Slovenia who is actually a Canadian chef who lives in Slovenia. And I reached out to him and I said, yeah, I'm writing this book and I think it's going to end up in your neck of the woods. And I need ideas for a couple of places that would be really good, dark, spooky settings. He gave me a list, pointed me to the right direction. I said, okay, now help me with some language because I know if you say this, 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 and this, it means different in maybe Czech. How do I say it in
Sure.
Slovenian? So I tried to make sure I was very accurate with the language, and I did a lot of research on my Cherokee language. I found all my notes from college. There's a wonderful program from the Cherokee Nation. They have OCO TV, which OCO is hello. So they have a TV station, and I would watch the programming they put out for children, like Sesame Street.
Yeah.
The stories and the storytellers who would come on and tell these stories. I studied all of that for writing the Veritas Codex and for writing Lauren's family story, because there's a whole journey with her family and her brother that she can't get along with. But in
I
the Monk's
don't think
Grimoire,
anyone can get along with their brothers, let's be
exactly. Well, I can't. So, but in this book, after he did all this work for me, I said, by any chance, would you like to be a character in my book? That would be the best way I could repay
Yeah.
you for everything you've done to help me. He goes, oh my gosh, I would love that. Would you kill me in your book? I'm like, you want me to kill you? He's like, yeah, it's got to be really good. So I did. And I sent it to him before my publisher even saw it. I sent it to him. I said, okay, here's what I wrote based on what you told me. Tell me if I got anything wrong. And how are you satisfied with your untimely end? And he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And he's one of my biggest fans. So I know all my books have gone to Slovenia. He talks about them all the time. And I'm
Yeah.
sure people who have read my books and gone to Slovenia, I would hope would go to his restaurant because I named it and people can
Oh, well,
go
name it right now. Tell us what is when I go to Slovenia.
I did it in Slovenian, but it's basically Cafe Rocky, but
Oh,
it's in
cool.
Slovenian and I don't speak Slovenian, so I'm not going to try to butcher the
That's okay.
language.
We'll
Yeah.
go and
But
look
if
for
you read the
Cafe
book,
Rocky.
yep, if you read the book and you're going to Slovenia, check out Cafe Rocky.
Oh, that's okay. So really quickly, can you spill the beans on his untimely death and what actually happened?
Oh, it's a huge plot point I wouldn't want to give away.
No, okay, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
But the theme of this book, and this book of all of them was the one I wrote the fastest. I wrote the entire first draft of the manuscript, over 75,000 words, in 23 days. I
Wow.
was truly inspired. I had an idea that came to me in the middle of the night. I woke up with the line in my head, the devil had it coming.
Oh my gosh,
And I
powerful.
wrote from there. So one of my favorite legends is about the Devil's Codex, which is a real book from
Yeah.
antiquity. And it is the largest book ever. It's supposed to contain every uh,
Mm.
document in man's knowledge to that point. It has all the same handwriting throughout the whole codex. It's a perfect handwritten Latin font. The legend is that it was written in one night by a monk who was it was sentenced to be sealed up in a room for breaking his monastic vows.
Mm.
And he vowed that he would write this book to magnify the church, and in return, they would not wall him up alive. That was the deal that they brokered. And halfway through the night, he realizes there's no way that he can finish this book.
Mm.
So he sells his soul to the devil, and the devil helps him finish it. And in payment, he makes a whole drawing of this horrific devil in the back of the book. So in my story, there are pages missing from the Devil's Codex, and Lauren has to go find them. And she ends up in Prague at a museum, and there's a murder, and all the evidence makes it look like she committed the murder. But of course, Lauren would never do anything like that.
No.
So she has to clear her name, find the missing pages before the devil gets his hands on them, or there will be hell to pay. So that is the plot for the Monk's
Wow.
Grimoire.
Oh, okay, so I don't read books, but maybe I'm going to have to read these. No, wait, there's audio books.
Yes,
You
there
make
is.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is what I will do. I saw there was
Yes.
audiobooks and I was like, on the list.
Uh-huh.
My drive
Yeah.
down list. Oh wow, what a story. Oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
there's more, right? So that's
Oh,
number
yeah.
4, is it?
That's 4. And I just published last year book 7, which for those of you who are watching is right over my shoulder. That's The King's Ransom. And
Yeah.
it won best published fiction at WriterCon, which is the conference that got me my publishing deal
Yes, congratulations.
last year. So I am currently working on getting book 8 ready to go. 9, 10, 11 are done in first draft.
Wow.
And after all the edits with book 8, I'll start on edits for book 9 because things always change in edits. And
Of
my
course.
character arc and my story arcs have really expanded over the 5 years I've been publishing these books. I kind of know what's going to happen in book 12. It's going to be a big, huge boom at the end,
Hmm.
but it may not be the end because after that we'll just kind of evaluate and see.
I was going to say, is that it? Is book 12 it?
I honestly don't think that's it. I've already got a plot for book 13, but I don't write 13 anything. So I just may have to make that a whole new series so that I don't have to address that dreaded
Yeah,
devil number.
13. But
Yeah.
13
Yeah.
could play into your favor. You could just be like 13. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I already did the Templar book. Maybe I should have done that for 13, but it didn't fall in the right spot.
Oh my goodness. Wow, you are cracking. Oh my gosh. I just love talking to inspirational women like you who are just absolutely caning it in the field that you've chosen, like, or that's chosen you essentially, right?
Right,
You don't
exactly.
really get to choose in this sort of space. You get,
No, not when the muse calls.
yeah, 100%. There's a couple of other comments here. Oh, Jennifer Bell must be JB. Also,
Uh-huh.
I want to say hi, JB. In New Zealand, we have a candy or a lolly, we call them lollies, called
Mhm.
JBs, which is essentially jelly beans. So when I realized that you were JB, all I could imagine was you were as a giant jelly bean walking around and me trying to eat you. I'm sorry. I'm
That's
just a
funny.
giant jelly bean and me like, ah. So anyway, JBs, there we go. That's
Yep,
what I'm.
she's pretty sweet. Yep.
One day we'll meet and I'll be like,
Yes.
oh, actually,
Yes.
yeah. Ah.
Yeah.
Um, so she says, yes, I heard it. Yes,
Yeah.
it's in the wood. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. It's gonna be a movie. Torian says, hey Torian, I used to go to school with Torian. What's up, fella? He's in New Zealand. He says, like the Nordic stone village that predates the Māori. So we love
Mhm.
talking about alternate histories and that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
or alternative histories, I guess.
Right.
Not the mainstream kind of what we're pushed in on at school and that sort of stuff. And especially in New Zealand, there is a lot of controversy around Indigenous people and First People here
Mhm.
and sort of stuff. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
kind of change and bits and pieces through there. Do you delve into that sort of alternative history pathways through your books and that sort of stuff as well?
Yeah, I do get into some time travel,
Oh,
especially in The Pirate's Curse. There's a little Bermuda Triangle action going on in there. We also talk about, um, I don't want to give away some plot points here. I'm trying to be really careful on what I
yeah.
do. I want to tempt people, but I also don't want to give all the goodies away. Um, Yeah, there's definitely some underlying themes with different cultures from the ancient Mayan to the Native American tribes. I've got some of the Choctaw legends represented. In Oklahoma, there's a place called Heavener, and there are Nordic runes carved into the walls of this rock ledge, slab, whatever you want to call it, sandstone.
Mhm.
And there's been a lot of discussion about how did the Nordic people end up all the way inland in Oklahoma. It kind of goes along with like the Kensington runestone and some of the Templar lore in America. And in book 5, I use that to kind of bring the Templars to Oklahoma with some little alternative history. And I did a tremendous amount of research on the Knights Templar, on their culture, the world that they lived in. One of the books that I read, the audio book was 52 hours. It was the whole history of Jerusalem and the Crusades. And it was important for me that I knew where the lines were
Mm-mm.
because I was going to take them and blur them. And I
Yeah.
knew that I was going to change. I wasn't going to tell the traditional Templar lore. I was going to spin it on its head. But I
Mm,
had to know where the real story was
totally.
before I could go in and put my own spin on it and just kind of blur that line just a little bit. And so uh, I got some criticism on the Lost Templars that wasn't true Templar lore. I'm like, you need to go back and read the acknowledgments at the end and all the notes because I put in
Yeah,
there
yeah.
exactly what I did. And I trusted my readers just to stay with me, to
Mm,
just let me lead you down the garden path. And I promise you, you will like the reward at the end. It may not be perfectly historically accurate, but this is
yeah.
my world. I write fiction.
Yeah.
I had a reviewer once said, "You got something wrong in one of your books," and I'm like, "I write fiction.
Yeah.
My books are not. There's nothing to get right or wrong. This is my world as I have written it, and it may not align with the world you live in, but this is Lauren's world and my world, and we're buddies, and we're going to hang out. And if you want to join us, you're welcome to come along for the ride."
Yeah, and that's a fantastic philosophy to have, right? But there's
Yeah.
so many trolls out there and so many people that have an opinion, and like my partner says, opinions are like,
hmm
I'm gonna say it
Yeah.
out loud,
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
everyone has one.
Yeah. Exactly.
And they all smell gnarly. So like the
Exactly.
I love that. And So my next question is, okay, so let's talk Knights Templar. What
Okay.
is your view on Oak Island? So hang on, wait, no, before you answer that, hold on. In New Zealand, hang on a second, hold on. Let me just lay a little bit of background for you real quick. In New Zealand, when we watch television, we have things 5 years behind,
Hmm.
right? We don't
Right.
we don't get any of the Bigfoot shows, the paranormal shows,
Right.
very, very way back, like seasons back. We've only just got Megan Fox doing her kind of thing, right? And that
Oh
was
boy.
years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
just to put it into perspective, right? So we are way far behind. And Oak Island, I'm pretty sure they still haven't found anything. Hang on, Torian
Hmm.
says, "Oh, Oak Island." Yeah, I know, right? We're still digging friggin' holes in the
Uh-huh.
ground.
Yeah.
So, and I know that that is encapsulated with Knights
Hmm.
Templar lore and that sort of stuff. So,
Yeah.
what's your view on that? Has that kind of
Yeah.
find anywhere?
I read as much as I could. I've watched the shows as much as I can, but let me tell you, as a safety professional, I need more information because they don't show me their confined space entry procedures. I don't see their safety protocols. I need to see their drill plan. How are they protecting these workers? And we know that somebody has to die before we're going to get the answers. And yet we still send people in there? Are you kidding me? I
Oh
can't do
God,
it. I can't do it. You cannot turn that stuff off.
that is
And
fantastic.
I struggle with that. Josh does the same thing occasionally. He'll make me really nervous when he's climbing through a sunken tomb, or he's in a
Yeah.
bunker below ground and they're lifting him down in the back. No, 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 no. I'm sorry. That's just the safety professional in me because, again, I can't turn it off. But I'm really interested in Oak Island because of all the stories and all the legends and all the
Hmm,
little things that they think they found.
sure.
But I'm reserving judgment on that one because, yeah, safety plans are important.
That is total cop out. That is a
Total
total
cop
cop
out.
out answer.
Total cop out. But it's my cop out and I'm sticking with it.
Oh, that's so funny. Jennifer says, haha, vintage Betsey.
Totally. Totally. She knows me too well. We share a brain.
Oh, that is hilarious. Hey, I really want to ask you about your podcast.
Mhm.
I think that's really exciting because this is new, right? It's not
Right.
been around for a
We're
really
in
long
our
time.
second season. Yeah, we're
Yes.
about halfway through our second season. And it began with a conversation. Jenny LeBranch, which is one of our other co-hosts, and JB Kane and I, we had kind of thrown around an idea of doing a podcast. And we had Jenny and I had the discussion before we brought JB on. And it was just like there was a missing piece. And when JB came on board, that was the missing piece. We needed the three of us so we could play off of each other, that we could share the load because I was still working full time.
Yeah.
Jen was still working full time. She was just about ready to retire as a teacher, 30 years in public education.
Wow.
Jenny was a retired firefighter, had worked in the IT industry. And so the pieces all fell into place when the three of us got together, and it just was magic. And Jenny and I had had this conversation about what we were going to call it. And I said, look, if I'm going to do a podcast, there's only one thing I want to call it. She's like, what is it? I said, I want to call it Unfreaking Believable. She's like, okay. And the reason that is Rowan in the book series, that's his catch line. Anytime something weird happens, he just looks at everybody else and goes, unfreaking believable.
Yeah.
And
That
so that was the name of the podcast.
makes
There was
sense.
never any other ideas thrown out. That was what it was.
I love that.
So
So funny.
our goal is to have compelling conversations with people who have experienced a life-changing event, whether it's the paranormal, whether it's a near-death experience, whether it's a moment of truth,
Mm.
courage, blind luck, faith. We want to tell that inciting incident that just completely changed their trajectory of their life. And we've all had, the three of us, we've each had our own unfreaking believable moments that we talk about in the first
Yeah.
episode. Um, but we have interviewed movie producers, television actors, authors, everyday people, paranormal investigators, ufologists, just all walks of life from all over the world. We've had guests that were in England. We've had guests that were in the United States. We've had, guests from all over the place. And the only ask that we have is that they have that unfreaking believable story to share with our listeners. And then we just have some chit chat, some girl time. We have a kind of a format where we do our introductions. Jen does a word of the day because as an English teacher, who doesn't want to learn a new word? She's got some good ones. Exactly. And of course, authors, we always need big words. Jenny does some fun facts because she's the fun facts lady. And then I do the quote of the day at the end after we finish up our interview. So we send people out on a positive note with something to think about and hope they'll be back for the next episode, which we do twice a month. So all of our episodes drop on the 11th and the 27th of every month.
Oh, awesome. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So really broad, super broad. And Jenny's just said, and New Zealand. So
yes, exactly. And, our goal is that, we believe that truth is stranger than fiction. And we just want to tell those stories. Exactly.
Every time. Yeah, we've got some really, really odd stories down here. I just want to say a big hi to Michael, who's joined us from Cleveland, Ohio. What's up, Michael? So Torian mentioned just before the wall and things like that at the Nordic stone village that shouldn't be in New Zealand. And I can't wait. And maybe I'll take you girls for a bit of a live stream adventure up the North Island of New Zealand to a place called the Kaimanawa Wall, which is in the Bahama.
Cool.
It's in a big giant national park. We've got huge national parks that run up through the middle of the North Island because we've got volcanoes everywhere, mountains and that sort of stuff. There's a lot of Bigfoot activity up around that area. And there's also this wall called the Kaimanawa Wall, which is essentially Chichen Itza, this huge wall that's been kind of stuck together. We can't get anything through. The archaeologists and geologists are saying it's a natural formation from a lava flow, but I think I call bullshit on that one. And I'm looking forward to going and seeing that and live streaming that one because there's such amazing things when you start looking, right? Once you start kind of venturing out into your backyard, you realize that there is so many amazing, unfreaking believable stories so close locality wise to you that you could go and have adventures in, and you don't need to be an expert, you don't need to have a degree, you don't need to be A, B, C, and D to go out into the bush and go on an adventure, go on a hike, go on go to a cemetery, do some history, do some genealogy. And so I love the fact that you as a woman are doing these sort of things and feeling really confident in your own ability. And so that's the kind of next big thing that's on my list, is taking everyone kind of up and around that area. And the other thing that's up there, which a lot of people don't know, are the Celtic swirls. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. I know exactly.
The circles, the three circles. And so this shouldn't be here in New Zealand at all, but there are very, very old wall carvings of these amazing triple Celtic swirls.
That's amazing.
The indigenous people that are here, the Māori iwis, the iwi is the Māori word for tribe, say that's not us. It was here before us. And very clearly not us. So I'm like, I can't wait to go just put hands on that and feel that energy as well. So
I think one of the things that I encourage people to do is you don't have to be a degreed scientist to do science. Citizen scientists have made amazing discoveries throughout history. And I consider myself a citizen science. I'm a scientist of the world. I want to know everything about everything. I believe that our cultures are built one atop the other, and the farther we can dig down, the farther back we'll go in history. And we're still making amazing discoveries, even at places like Pompeii, in Egypt, in Iraq, Iran, the United States. The Native Americans, they build these mound cities, whether they were temples or whatever they were, that were either overgrown or that's just how they were built. And you'll look out over this wide expanse of a very flat valley and see what looks like a volcano or a mountain, and it's a man-built ancient site. And they're still going through and excavating some of those. Some of them they leave alone because of the Native American significance. But the ones that they have done some research, there's the Spiro Mounds in Oklahoma the discoveries are simply amazing what they're
Mm.
finding and how old those cultures are that we didn't know even existed at that time period. So we're finding that the date of the planet and culture is probably thousands of years older than we think it is. And that's because scientists and citizen scientists are asking those questions and not accepting, the status quo. We're
Yeah.
pushing the boundaries. Is this accurate? Is it true? What else can we find? And we grow and learn as scientists the more we ask those questions.
And we were talking today about testing the source. That was
Mhm,
literally our conversation earlier of there's so much rubbish on social media and this sort
mhm.
of stuff, and you're getting these photos and AI imagery
AI,
stuff
yeah.
coming through all the time. And it's incredibly difficult to
Mhm,
figure out right, wrong, truth, false, that sort of situation. And so we were talking about how do you check the source? How do
mhm.
you go back and research and figure out what that looks like? Do you have any tips on that? Because it's incredibly difficult to use, like what
Yes.
search engines to try and
Mhm.
find information. Have you got any little tricks?
Actually, I do have one, and it's one I was actually working on today because I'm doing some research on an ancient culture that disappeared, and there's some myth missing around it. I'm not going to name the culture, but I go to the Gutenberg Project, which
Oh,
is
sure.
a online library with they have a lot of ancient texts that have been either digitized or have been uh, translated, and you can download them for free. And so I spent today studying this ancient culture, and then I'm also looking at some of the source mythology for devils and demons, because
Mm,
that plays very heavily in the Veritas Codex series. And so I go back and I look at old Sumerian texts that have been translated and transcribed. I look at Jewish text. I look at Christian text. I don't limit myself to one religion. I want to know what all of them say about the subject.
sure.
So I think it's looking at your source, weighing it against its validity, its scientific significance, and then comparing it to what other cultures, other eras in time say about those things. And I read voraciously. Research is my favorite thing to do, and I will spend hours going down a rabbit hole. Jen, I don't remember what rabbit hole I was on the other day. What was it? Um, where I'm looking at the names of places in America that use the word Bigfoot, Sasquatch, hairy man, booger, ape. There is a Booger Holler, Arkansas, and
Like
that's
the
because it's
name of a town?
yeah, that's the name of the town is Booger Holler, Arkansas. Well, Booger's another name for Bigfoot. And we have a lot of Bigfoot sightings in the state of Arkansas.
God,
So yeah, I
Americans
go
have the
down these
best
rabbit
names
holes.
for things.
Oh
I
yeah,
swear to
yeah,
God, like we have very boring names in New Zealand. I'm like, to bring me to America.
yeah. Come over to Booger Holler. We'll show you what we got.
Totally tickets.
You mentioned Bigfoot.
100%, 100%. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I know, we delve quite deep into newspaper articles and archives and that sort of stuff, but I totally agree with you on the Gutenberg project.
Mhm.
Those guys and girls over there are working tirelessly, and it's amazing the amount of work they've done. Oh my God, on
Mhm.
all of those old books, they've got
Yeah,
thousands of
yeah.
titles over there, and it's fantastic, right? It's so
Yeah,
amazing.
I spend a lot of time in history libraries too, where they have the newspapers on microfiche. Microfiche. My
Oh
kids don't
God.
even know what microfiche
Whoa, you're
is.
taking me back there, Betsy.
Yeah, exactly. But it's as a genealogist, as a researcher, it's gold. It's good data.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's 100%. Like you can't, it's almost like you have to go back. And I heard this the other day. And Michael's just dropped in talking about Jeff Meldrum. And I know that,
God
Jeff
rest his soul.
Meldrum 100% was such an amazing man. And he was a friend to a lot of us in the industry because we've all kind of had those sort of communications with him. And um, I know, like you have to almost go back 20, 30 years before all of this AI generation has kind of
Hmm.
happened to even get that kind of credible evidence,
Yes.
credible footage.
Yes.
We've got photos in Australia of Yowies, which are the
Hmm.
Australian Bigfoot.
Yep.
Or like from 1932, we actually did a Bigfoot Believe It or Not last episode, which was
Hmm.
last week. we talked about some yowies that were taken by a box brownie camera, which is one of the very, very old school little ones in the 1932. And this guy, Reg, came up with the most amazing photograph of this giant thing sitting next to these guys on a log. And it almost makes you, it almost forces you to have to go back and research, which is such a great
thing. Question everything.
Yeah, which is such a great thing. So that's my next question. Conspiracy theories, yes or no?
Some yes, some no. I'm selective on that. I work for the government, so I tend to hesitate to say, oh, it's the government behind it. But I can't prove that necessarily for every government agency. I know mine was pretty legit, but we were there to protect workers' lives. Kind of a big deal. But there's a lot of different myths and stories behind some of the investigations that I think they're questionable. I think we can't take it on face value. We've got to keep asking. You know, the Patterson-Gimlin film, I study that one. I've watched it. I've seen the digitally re-enhanced, the mastered, you know, trying to improve the quality. I've watched the original. And, you know, I'm looking for seams. I'm looking for things that would give it away that this is a monkey in a fursuit. And I think it was actually Dr. Meldrum who said, if you think it looks like a person in a monkey suit, go watch a video of a person in a monkey suit and compare the two. And you'll be hard pressed to say it's a person in a monkey suit. Yeah. So yeah, I ask those questions all the time. It's like, and the AI thing, it's cool, it's funny, it's cute, but it is it's messing with people because you don't know anymore what's real. And the same goes for voice generation. You know, people's voices can be cloned now. Your face, your image, everything about you can be cloned, and they can make you say anything they want you to. And just go to TikTok and you'll find 15 million of them today. So I think we have to be incredibly cautious with that kind of technology. I think we have to question everything, consider the source, and don't take anything on face value.
Are you concerned with AI in the writing industry?
Yeah,
I mean,
big time.
it's a major in the acting industry, right? They've just produced their very first AI generated actor.
Yeah. So there is a huge lawsuit right now from the AI companies. They've been sued by authors because our books were pirated and used to train AI without our authorization. And 6 of my 7 books are included in the lawsuit. So my work has been used to train AI, and that is offensive to me. You know, I receive no compensation for my work. My books are pirated. There are places where you can buy them that are illegal. And as an author who's trying to make a living, who's trying to build community, who's trying to make a difference in the world, it's painful to know that there are people who would take advantage of that. And so now I have had to speak, I've had to stand up for myself because people are like, oh, this book was AI. I'm like, no, my book was used to train AI. I am not the one who is, you know, using AI. AI used me.
Yes, yeah.
And I also believe that it's a double-edged sword because AI is not going to replace a person. They're not going to take away your job. But a person utilizing AI, leveraging AI will.
Yes.
And I think we're all at risk, whether we're creatives, whether we're artists, authors, actors, movie producers. It's a very dangerous slope that we're climbing, and it's slippery, yeah. And so I admit there are times I use AI for convenience, but never when I'm writing. AI is to help me with my social media, to help save a little time here and there. But again, I don't use it to write. And I'm actually going to a webinar next week to learn about my rights and how to get that to stop, you know, because that is something we all struggle with.
Yeah, and I think it's going unchecked, right? And the industries as a whole, it's going unchecked. And you know, I'm a personal trainer by trade. I'm in a gym, and you would think that I would always be able to keep my job, but the impact that AI is having on the fitness industry,
yes,
you can just get an app. An app will show you what to do, and the AI will, you know, do your do your BMI and do your body fat and do
Mhm.
your everything, and then tell you
Yep.
what exercises to have. And all of a sudden I become obsolete, which is crazy
Mhm.
because I've been in
Yeah.
this industry for 27 years and I specialize in fixing people. If
Yeah.
you've got a sore part, I will fix that for you, and I can pretty much guarantee it to about 98%, correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, people are wanting that quick, cheap, easy
Yeah.
fix, right?
Wham
And
bam. Thank you,
it
ma'am.
everywhere. Yeah. So we don't just see it in the validity of evidence coming through and pictures and video footage and that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. We see this massive other impact coming into
Yeah.
every other industry. I know Juliet absolutely hates the idea of AI being like infiltrating the writing
Mm-hmm.
industry. And now, like I feel the same way with actors as well. Actors, the acting industry as a whole
Mm-hmm. Right.
is in real danger. Real
Yeah.
danger.
Yeah. Very much
Oh,
so.
I love it. Okay. I have two more questions for you, Betsey. You are
Okay.
absolutely killing this, and I am loving it. Oh, so good. We're getting loads of comments. Thank you, everyone, for supporting us and coming to listen to our talk. I appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Little button. Thanks. So my next question to you is, in our Cryptid Women Society has a cosmic framework. There's 5
Mhm.
different categories in that we think is kind of like drawn in a Venn diagram. They all cross each other. When we talk about cryptids, we also talk about paracryptids as well,
Mhm.
which is that kind of indigenous kind of crossover where you have
Mhm.
these interdimensional beings potentially, or with supernatural kind of elements to them. So my first question to you
Mhm.
is, out of those kind of main categories, ufology,
Mhm.
cryptozoology, um, the strange and the unexplained, secret societies,
Mhm.
ancient civilizations, and the paranormal, where do you sit most? Where is your kind of love for
Mhm.
that? And I know Bigfoot was your very first monster that you
Yes. Yeah.
found, but
Yeah.
is there an industry or a part of that kind of environment that you go, oh God, I'm so drawn into this
Mhm.
space?
Yeah, definitely the cryptids, but not all of them. There's some that just are outside of my purview. I don't really know a whole lot about Dogman, the Jersey Devil, the Mothman. That's just not something that comes from the areas that I live in. It's not that I don't believe it. I just don't know enough about it to really form an opinion. Nessie, I would like to know a whole lot more about Nessie, the
Oh,
Yeti. I have scenes in some of the books where we talk about them being in Nepal looking for Yeti. Of course, we go looking for Bigfoot.
mhm,
Um, I'm really interested in lost history, lost civilizations, lost cultures, lost treasure. I
mhm.
think part of that is fueled by my love of shows like Expedition Unknown, Josh Gates.
Yeah.
I want to know everything about everything. So those kinds of things I'm really interested in. UFOs and alien life, I'm really interested in that. Um, Again, because I believe that some of the ancient, that whole ancient astronaut theory, the old religions, the old cultures, maybe they were here before. That's where it really draws me because I want to know, like the Sumerians and the Epic of Gilgamesh and how it retells stories from the Bible. So
Yeah.
you're getting multiple stories in history from different sources. So we've got the Sumerians, we have the Jewish legends, we have the Christian legends, we have the Egyptian history, we have the Mayan history. So all of those ancient civilizations, I'm really interested in all of that
Yeah.
because there's some correlations. And how could they build these giant stone temples when they didn't have a wheel, when they didn't have a lever, but they're laser precise in how these blocks fit together? Huh.
Hmm.
How did that happen?
Questionable.
Hmm.
So glad that you
Must
brought
be
that up.
aliens.
Love it. And like that's it. Like maybe it's not aliens, but maybe it's an ancient race of people that had
Exactly.
some, like
More power than we
Atlanteans,
know.
anyone? Yeah, absolutely. So good. Okay, and so my last question has changed.
Okay.
It's changed because Jenny wrote dinosaur with a love heart. And so then my next question is, and I have my own views on this, and so does Juliet, are dinosaurs real?
Hmm.
And is the timeline correct?
I
This
do
is
believe
going
they're
to be
real.
difficult for you. Oh,
Yeah, but I don't think the timeline is accurate. I think we're learning more and more all the time that our timelines are off. And their timelines are off globally, whether it's dinosaurs, ancient cultures, Göbekli Tepe, they're finding that the timelines are off. And so I think we need to think bigger. I think we've been too narrow-minded in our view of how long we've existed and how long our planet has existed. So yeah, I do believe in dinosaurs. I've seen the fossils. I've been to places where there are active dinosaur digs, and I've seen them come out of the ground. I've seen them in the ground. So I believe that they're true and they're real. But are we 100% accurate on all of that? Maybe not.
Ooh. Hey, have you heard of a place called Angkor Wat in Cambodia?
Yes. Oh, yes. It's in some of the books.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so,
Hmm.
have you seen the picture of the Stegosaurus
Uh-huh.
around the doorframe? So
Hmm.
I went there. I've touched that with my little pinky
Oh, I'm jealous.
fingers, my fat little bananas. I took my son there for he was homeschooled for 2 years when he was 11, 12 because I couldn't find a
Hmm.
good school for him to go to. And in New Zealand, we do primary school for the little
Hmm.
people, and then they go through this like 2 year kind of transition school, and then they go up to college or high school, like for
Hmm.
us. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to send you to a rubbishy school. I'll just homeschool you. So part of our homeschooling, we went to Thailand, we went to Cambodia, and we went to Vietnam just for a culture understanding shock for him.
All on my bucket list.
Yeah, amazing, amazing places. But I was like, I'm going to Angkor Wat, and I had some amazing spiritual connection things
Hmm.
happen there, which was absolutely crazy town. But once I went to the site, it's not in Angkor Wat itself, but it's in one of the other temple structures and places there. You literally like I love it when skeptics and mainstream media goes, oh, well, it's obviously they thought it was a cow, or it was a this or a whatever. And Juliet had the same experience when she went to Egypt last year and started looking at these hieroglyphs going, this is obviously a plesiosaurus. This is the Loch
Right.
Ness monster. It's not a goose. This is a goose,
Yeah.
and this is a plesiosaurus. This is
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like, they know
Yeah.
the difference. They're not going to screw this up. And the same thing in Angkor Wat, where you literally see these animals around the door frame,
Hmm.
beautifully depicted, amazingly carved, and this very, very clear version of the Stegosaurus. And the mainstream media idea is that this structure, or this complex, was built 1,200 years ago. What's your view on that?
Again, I think the timelines are probably off. I've noticed the same thing too with some of the Mayan and some of the Aztec ruins and some of the ones that you see. And this is something that's always interested me is how we depict these stories in art. Um, because if you look at some of the glyphs, like the astronaut of Palenque, it
Mhm.
is a stone carved glyph, thousands of years old, that looks like somebody in a spaceship with a breathing device over their face.
Sure.
You look at the ancient artwork and you see UFOs in the corner. There's the Virgin Mary and Jesus and the Annunciation, and there's a UFO.
Oh.
How does that happen if it's not something that somebody saw that they're depicting in art?
It's absolutely mental. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I love these conversations. You can just go
Mhm.
wild. We could talk for hours about this sort of stuff and go totally kind of down rabbit holes. Like
Oh
you could,
yeah,
oh my God,
yeah.
we'd never come up for air. It's phenomenal. And this is one of the reasons we started Cryptid Women's Society, because there was just not enough space
Mhm.
for women to come together and actually have these
Yep.
really genuine, honest conversations and not be made to feel stupid. And so
Yes.
I just appreciate your time so much today. It's been truly wonderful. We could keep going, but I'm going to wrap you up. Last question, okay? The
Okay.
dinosaur one was the second to last question. I just keep going to keep going.
You can keep adding questions.
Okay,
I'm with you.
last question, last question.
Okay.
If you could solve any mystery, be it
Mhm.
supernatural or non-supernatural, any
Mhm.
mystery in the world, what would it be?
Just one?
Fine, baby.
Oh my gosh.
Like, ah,
Um, you know, I'm going back to my monster. Bigfoot. I would like to put that to bed in a way. I want to prove that it's real.
yeah.
But here's the problem with that is that once something has been discovered, it's going to get exploited.
Thank
If you
you.
look at the gorillas, they weren't discovered into the early 1900s. The Aborigine people knew that they were there,
Yeah.
but modern civilization had not ever seen anything like that, and they believed it to be a myth. Once it was proven, then people started encroaching on their territory,
Mhm.
moving in to study them.
Mhm.
Poachers moved in. There was a massive fascination that caused a market for their hands, their skin, their teeth, their face, all the parts of the animal. And they were hunted almost to extinction. And I don't want that for a cryptid primate. The state of Oklahoma had a legislator who thought it would be cute to pass legislation allowing for a Bigfoot hunting season.
Yeah.
And it passed. And it was really intended to be more of a tourism enhancement to bring people into the area, to get them to ask the questions and go out and look. And it's basically to get people to go down to southeastern Oklahoma and spend their travel dollars. Um, and so that is the thing that I'm most afraid of if we do discover, and we have irrefutable proof that Bigfoot is real, that nobody can deny. It is there, it is in front of us. We can see it, touch it, feel it, smell it, whatever the case may be. Meanwhile, there are states like Florida who pass laws to protect the Bigfoot if
Yeah.
they are indeed found to be, a creature. So it's kind of a double-edged sword to say that I would love to solve the mystery of Bigfoot.
Mm-mm.
I would love to solve it and have it be a truth that could never be told,
Yeah.
which
There
is
needs
kind
to
of
be,
my thing.
oh my God, there needs to be a book written about it. Do you, do
Huh.
you know anyone?
I think I could come up with something.
Do you know
I think I could
anyone?
do that.
That
Oh,
is
wait,
so
I
funny.
did.
Oh, wait. No, it was me.
I did that. That was me.
Well, actually, to your point as well, our friend Katie Elizabeth up in Lake Champlain
Mhm.
is part of creating that what do you call it, legislation to
Mhm.
protect
Yes.
Champ, the lake monster up there as well.
Yes,
She's phenomenal as far as her
she
research
is.
and her evidence and that sort of stuff goes.
Mhm.
So, and I know she has just come back from Scotland. She was at Loch Ness and Loch Murrah. And
Yes.
they came back with some pretty amazing evidence as well. So maybe she's next on your list.
Yes, she's on my list.
She's on my list.
She is on my list.
Um, Miss Betsey, please
Yes.
tell us where we can find you. How do we get in contact with you? And more importantly, where do we find your books?
Awesome. So you can find my website, author Betsey Kulakowski, and I hope you have show notes somewhere. Uh, my name's on the screen. Spell it like it is. It's authorbetseykulakowski.com. And you can find everything through my website. I have a blog. I have a link to the Unfreaking Believable podcast. All my books are linked on the website to Amazon or other sources. My books are available at most booksellers, but you typically have to order them because we do print on demand because that's the environmentally responsible thing, and Lauren would want us to do that. I am on bookshop.com. I'm on Amazon. I'm on Barnes and Noble. I'm on Kobo, Kindle, just anywhere you can find books, you can find the Veritas Codex series. And the Manifest Destiny series is pretty well published and distributed out there as well. Um, I'm on social media. I'm probably the most active on Instagram at author Betsey K. I have a TikTok channel. I'm still trying to figure that out. Jenny's my TikTok queen. She's teaching me the ways of the Force. She's my Jedi master, and I am her young Padawan there. Um, and let's see, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, but it's all author Betsey K. That's the best way to find me. And you can get links on my website. You can also follow me on Pinterest because I keep a Pinterest board for every book. And some of Lauren's recipes end up on my Pinterest board or are the inspiration for some of Lauren's recipes. There's casting picks if I were able to get it made into a TV show or a movie. Who would I like to play my characters? So all of that is out there. I'm always adding to it. I keep the page private until the book is published, and then that page is made public, so people can see where I got my inspirations, where the designs for the cover come from. Yeah, it's just a really great tool to connect with me and learn more about how the books came to pass and some of the inspirations behind them.
Oh, that is so cool. And I will definitely be jumping on there because I need a recipe for a biscuit, apparently. A biscuit is like a cookie
I
for me.
actually, I have a new recipe I just got today and I haven't made them yet, but as soon as I make them, I will send you that recipe.
Yes, please. Sounds brilliant. I'm going to feed everyone I know biscuits and gravy.
Yes,
Sounds
yes,
odd. It sounds
they'll
so
love
weird
it.
in my brain.
It's the most American thing you could eat, that and chicken fried steak.
Ah, what? Oh my God.
It's
Okay.
it's a steak that's fried like chicken, but it's not chicken.
What? I'm so lost. Oh God, I'm so
Just
lost.
come over, I'll make you
I'm
dinner.
so lost. Okay, I'm coming over for dinner. Sounds amazing. This has just been phenomenal. Thank you so, so much, Betsey, for joining me today. I 100% wish Juliet could have joined us today, but like I said at the start, we will definitely be getting you into our members Shadowtalk Unfiltered space so that you can have a VIP one-on-one kind of question and
Love it.
answer conversation with all of our girls in there. Truly amazing. Go and check Betsey out. Make sure you go and read her book. She has audio books, so you can be like me and just listen to them, which will be amazing. And absolutely go and check out the Unfreaking Believable podcast. Go and like them, go and subscribe to them, go and show them a bucket load of love. Everyone that's listening to us on the Cult of Conspiracy podcast, thank you for sticking around for so long. We love you people over there. And everyone else that joined us today and dropped comments in here. Thank you so much for joining us. CryptidWomanSociety.com. Go on over there and get yourself a Truth Seeker membership. If there is a woman in your life that you love that's a little bit weird, send her to us. We are her tribe. Thank you so much for joining us, Betsey. You are amazing. And
Thank
we are
you.
going to say goodbye and sign off. Au revoir, everyone. Thanks, everyone.